King Day. And on the back of our TANS group, we have a quote from him that just says, "A genuine leader is not a searcher of consensus, but a molder of consensus," which basically means if we want to be leaders, we need to lead. That is, we need to develop ideas and convince others of their merit. So that's what TANS believes in, that we're hoping that we can change the flight patterns of the private jets that are coming over our houses. So with that said, on the 15th anniversary of a plane landing in the Hudson, I came here before to speak about private jets that fly over houses in the township that are low, loud, and very frequent. I belong to a group called TANS. It's Taxpayers for Aircraft Noise Solutions. We are a community organization tasked with finding workable solutions to the aircraft noise, which adversely affects the quality of life of residents in the Pascack Valley. I'm working with a couple different residents from other towns, a woman from Park Ridge, Councilman Greg Hoffman from Park Ridge also, and another this Warren Feldman from Woodcliff Lake. He's been researching it for years also, because they are highly affected by the planes coming very low and loud over their houses in those areas. Thank you for the council people that have already signed the petition. I really appreciate that. I know that Tom Sears also was posting it on the Green Team booth, so I'm very thankful for that. Long before TANS, Hackensack Deputy Mayor Kathy Canestrano lobbied for the FAA to create and utilize the Route 17 approach, commonly known as the RNA GPS-X Runway 19 approach. They were very successful, and the only problem is that the approach isn't rarely used. It's only used about 10% of the time. We're not saying to ban all private jets. We're just saying that there are solutions that can be done, and that is one of the solutions. They could just move over to the Route 17 path and take that, as opposed to coming in over our houses. Our TANS group is currently in dialogue with the FAA Eastern Region Administrator in Jamaica, New York, and we're asking questions and presenting solutions to them. We're getting pretty far, but I'm looking for our town council support, because the following towns have passed resolutions approving the petition to the FAA to reduce air traffic noise. So Westwood has adopted a resolution, Hillsdale, Park Ridge, Woodcliff Lake, and Hackensack. More towns will follow. I have brought resolutions from some of the towns, in hopes that you can adopt a resolution, that the Township of Washington can adopt a resolution. If any of the council people want to get a little bit more involved, the next Teterboro Airport Noise Abatement Advisory Committee, what's called TANAC, is on Wednesday, January 24th at 6 p.m. They're always online, and it's really good if you want to hear a lot of good information about what Teterboro does, and pretty much a lot of people, we ask a lot of questions. You can get airplane routes over your house, so you could see how many flights are coming in over my house, which I think you guys have seen me put that up before. The petition is now over 1,100 signed, so that's good for the Pascack Valley. I'm just hoping that we can, as a township, adopt a resolution. Again, it's not a matter of banning private jets, it's just a matter of, could they please stop coming in so frequently, so low, so loud, and just move over to 17, or that we have more control over this now, because I truly believe it's going to get worse. And once I believe, because I grew up in Essex County, and I know that little small airport too, it's famous because JFK flew out of it, that airport is going to start taking speed also. And we've been lowered, our flight path has been lowered to accommodate them above us. So I think things are just going to get worse as they start attracting more private jets to their airport. But I just wanted to hand in 3 of the resolutions from the other towns so you can get the verbiage
I'll
for
take
it.
it, Sister.
And
Thank you, Mrs. Stickle.
go ahead.
Anything else?
No, that's it. I
would-
just hope
I would-
that you listen to me. This is a real issue, and I know that everybody thinks I'm crazy, but I'm not.
No, yeah,
And,
no, these airplanes
And I
do fly
think
low every night, and I hear them, you hear 'em.
Sopowitz was talking about this years ago,
Yes.
and I don't know what it is, why we have a perfect airflow over our town. I don't know, but it's just going to get worse.
Thank you,
So,
Mrs. Stickle.
Mrs. Stickle? if I-
Yes.
do you mentioned that there's this Route 17 approach that's proven that it's effective, but it's only used about 10%. Is there a reason why that, or a reason that the FAA has given that it's not used more?
It's basically, it's a pilot's choice, or it's also, what do they call this site, TRACON? It's a flight tower. It's called
the beacon?
TRACON.
They follow the beacon.
Yeah. Once they make the corner and they know, TRACON will say, okay, you could shoot the beam directly to, Teterboro Airport. And so that's what they say. They say, okay, we're going to shoot the beam and just go directly in. Now, the pilots can, I guess, also reprogram their plane to
Shoot a
go.
different beam.
Yeah, shoot a different beam and go down the Route 17. I'm okay with Route 17. It may start affecting other people. They might start complaining. But I just simply said, can you even do that for Sunday? Alleviate some of the pressure, because Sunday is blue laws. They did consider that a little bit, because I'm like, there's not that many cars on 17 on Sunday, right? So, but just to alleviate some of our, barbecue fun. Not.
Okay.
If it's all right with the rest of the council, I'd like to have Cornelia forward these to Mr. Poller to prepare a sample resolution for our next meeting to review and hopefully adopt the meeting after, once we review it. And Mrs. Stickle, if we can get you a copy of that to make sure that we've included everything in
Yeah.
that you think is
Yeah,
more valuable
sure.
to make it a better resolution, if you don't mind.
Thank you. And if
Thank
you're
you.
comfortable with it, what's going on now is that the resolutions are now being sent to the FAA in letters. We're on like our second response letter. The FAA comes back to us and they say A, B, and C about why this is going on or not going on. And then part 2, we send a response back to them. So now our response is going back to them with the 5 resolutions that have been adopted from the other towns. We want to, for the next round of FAA correspondence and dialogue, we'd like to have that resolution included, the township's resolutions.
When do you need, what,
Well, we kind of need that like tonight, because they're sending the letter out.
I don't think Mr. Poller's
They're
going
not
to
going to do it,
that
yeah.
tonight.
You have to, you need a round or 2 more.
But I say we get the ball rolling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We'll get you a resolution, but unfortunately, it won't be tonight.
Okay, all right, now, the town council.
So we have 3 resolutions here, one from the city of Hackensack, one from the borough of Park Ridge, and one from the borough of Westwood. I think the borough of Westwood is our sister city, we're adjoining cities, or townships and borough. So I'll read that one to the council really quick and see if you're okay with the verbiage in there. And it says basically, resolution, Mayor and Council of the Borough of Westwood approving petition to FAA to reduce air traffic noise, whereas a large volume of private jets flying into Teterboro Airport brings intolerable noise levels in the Borough of Westwood, significantly impacting the quality of life of its residents and the entire Pascagoula Valley region. And whereas since 2019, the air route over Route 17 RNAV GPSX was established as an alternate route. And whereas voluntary noise abatement recommendations have failed to effectively achieve the necessary utilization of this route. Whereas the utilization of Route 17 corridor will significantly mitigate the noise over Park Ridge and the entire Pascagoula Valley region while having little to no impact on residential dwellings along the corridor. And whereas the governing body seeks to join in the petition to the FAA and traffic controller who mandate the airspace to prioritize the Route 17 alternate route as the preferred route for arrivals to runway 19 at Teterboro Airport. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the borough of Westwood, county of Bergen, and the state of New Jersey hereby support the petition requesting the FAA and traffic controller to prioritize the Route 17 alternate route as the preferred route for arrivals to runway 19 at Teterboro Airport. And be it further resolved that the Borough Administrator be and is hereby authorized and directed to forward a copy of this resolution to the FAA, the municipalities comprising the Pascack Valley region, TANAAC, and our state and federal representatives. I have no problem making a motion to introduce that tonight. And if I could have a second.
Mr. President, Council President?
Yes, Mr. Pollak.
All right, so let me just make this suggestion. If you're in favor of it, maybe there's a better way of doing this. So I would just take that resolution and on the top, I mean, you could pass the resolution tonight. I would take the top, I just mark off instead of where it has, I don't have it in front of me, but
Yeah.
instead of Westwood, put down Township of Washington.
Done.
And in the body of it, if you just want to go through it or instruct when it's being when do you need this resolution by? Tomorrow morning?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as possible, yeah, they're going to submit a letter this week,
Okay,
so
well,
that's,
I'm trying to get, that's what I'm trying to do is do that. So what I'm thinking is, if you can mark it off with Westwood, with the.
I'll do it after the meeting, and we'll get you a copy of Mr. Pollak for tomorrow morning.
Okay, but just pass the resolution.
What's our next resolution number? So it's 24156?
156, it looks like.
Mike, I at least would cross off Westwood and put Township of Washington.
I did that already.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. And then end it the way we do ours,
Okay.
okay?
So you have the normal resolution language? So a motion to approve resolution number 24-156, approving a petition to the FAA to reduce air traffic noise in the Township of Washington. I'll make the motion. Would somebody like to second it?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Pollak.
thank you very much, makes me happy.
Thank you, Mrs. Tickle, for your presentation, and hopefully you will help us.
One last question, will that be like retyped up and not look
Yes.
like a cross out for the FAA? Okay, just, all right, thank you very much.
Would anybody else in the audience? Yes, Mr. Agnello had his hand up first. Thank you.
Mike Agnello, 667 Mason Street, Township of Washington.
Good
First
evening,
off,
Mr.
as
Agnello.
everyone knows here, I'm a fireman in town, been one for 47 years, but I'm not up here speaking for the fire department, I want to speak as a resident. Okay, it's very important because I don't have the authority to say, as a representative of the department, some of the things I'll bring forward. Okay, but anyway, I'm here this evening to discuss an RSVP that I received from Councilman Ullman stating that he will not be attending our fire department chief's testimonial dinner because he plans on cutting these types of spending, and it would be hypocritical for him to attend our dinner. So based on his beliefs, not mine, for this item to be cut, he will need an additional 2 hypocrites that will be attending the dinner to vote for the cutting of this line item. I would like to just explain to everybody the town does not pay for this entire dinner. The fire department picks up roughly 75% of the cost of the dinner through the fundraising of Christmas tree sales. Each member of the fire department volunteers an average of 18 hours of their personal time to sell Christmas trees to the public, for which we raise enough money to pay for most of this annual dinner. The dinner that we organize for our outgoing chief comes at the end of his officer serving career. This equates to an amount of time that can take any officer from 10 to 16 years to complete. Becoming a volunteer fireman and then increasing his or her dedication to become an officer on the department for a period of that many years, volunteering all their time, spending countless hours away from their family, and becoming more administratively involved with each step that they climb the ladder, ultimately managing the entire department as chief, yet still just a volunteer. Without these volunteers giving their time and effort to the town, you would have to at least duplicate the police salary budget for a paid fire department. Perks are needed to make volunteers feel appreciated and remain on board for many years. These items are small discretions that keep things positive. We cannot run these dinners, these well-deserved dinners, without the continued support from the town. And with the rising costs recently made aware to us today, recently by our venue vendor, roughly 40% over the next 2 years, we are not looking for these to be cut, but actually for you to possibly increase them. This is a small token to pay to the comparison of salaries to the volunteers who give their time to this community. So living in this town now for the past 60-some years, I'm guessing and assuming that this is falling on deaf ears, and that you will still plan to cut these types of line items, which was a promise made by the independent party that ran for the recent office terms opened up this past November. I would like to make a recommendation, and even more so, a request, that if you feel so strongly about cutting such discretionary spending, then the leaders that support such cuts should become volunteers. First, lead by example. Become a volunteer. Give your time to the community for free. Show the community of Washington Township that you are willing to put skin in the game to meet your promises made to them for their votes. Make the first line item that you cut as a discretionary spending be your council seat salaries. Be a volunteer to the community, the same way the fire department and ambulance corps is, and expect nothing for what you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Agnello.
Council President, may I add to Mr. Agnello's comments?
Sure.
Full disclosure, I am a fireman in town. I'm speaking as a citizen and a fireman. So far, this month, we've had 30 fire calls, 30. Different hours of the day, different times of nights. And right now, there are over 30 volunteer firemen that are out doing a drill in this weather, and I find it utterly disgusting, and that's all I can say, that you're going to cut the fireman's budget, whether it's discretionary or whatever the clue word that they want to use. I've never heard this before in my 40 years of firefighting service, and I really think some people ought to maybe think about their position on the council. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Sears. We're having a problem. I don't want anybody to think I'm being disrespectful. There's a problem on the internet with our volume. It's going in and out. So I'm texting Ricky back and forth to get it fixed. So we're back on. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. May I?
Yes, Mrs. Wilson.
Okay. It's a shame that we do not appreciate the volunteers that we do have in this town. So, Mr. Agnello, I apologize that this is where we're at, and our volunteer firefighters who put their lives on the line for our residents have to even deal with the idea of being cut. So you have my absolute support. Our volunteers do not get the recognition that they deserve across departments. Thank you for your service. Thank you, Mr. Sears, for your service. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson. Mr. Holland?
Yeah, I would just like to say that the comment that I made to Mr. Agnello, just to be clear, I wasn't stating specifically the Chiefs dinner. What I said is I'm declining the invite to Chiefs dinner. We're going to be asking for cuts to discretionary spending, and it would be hypocritical to go to the dinner. I feel that if we are going to be cutting discretionary expenses, that we shouldn't be feeding off of that as well. And that's my position. I didn't say I was going to cut the fire department, the chief's dinner, but we did run, or I ran, on a reduction in taxes at the municipal level, and that's how we would get there, through discretionary spending. So,
Thank you.
Mr. Agnello, I'm sorry that you feel that way, and it wasn't meant as a personal attack on you or the fire department. It's simply how I feel about the event and in terms of it being a discretionary spend.
Thank you. Would anybody else in the audience like to come up? Yes, Mr. Schneider.
I wanted to make a comment, if I may, Council President.
I already asked Mr. Schneider to come up. Come on up.
So your answer is no?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. May I make a suggestion that you ask the members of the dais if they have any questions or things before you move to the next speaker?
I did.
You did?
Come on up.
David Snide, 91 Windsor Circle, Washington Commons. Understanding what some of the new council members have run on, essential services such as the fire department, without them, we have nothing. And I really think that we need to support that and not reduce it. I hear the fire department every time they go out of the garage because I'm right next door to them in Washington Commons. And I'm just coming in tonight to express that. That's all. I just would like to see you not look at a reduction of the fire department nor the police department. I'm just saying to you, that's an essential service. That's all I'm saying to you.
And we're in total agreement with you.
Okay, thank you very much, and good luck in 2024.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Would anybody else in the audience like to come up at this time?
Oh, so we can't comment on what he just said either?
Would anybody like to comment on Mr. Schneider's? It is our meeting,
I
Mr.
would.
Mayor.
Oh, we're starting that?
Yes.
Are we saying the mayor's not allowed to speak at the council
That is
meeting?
not what I said, Mr. Sears.
What
Then
what
what-
are you saying? Because I believe the mayor asked to speak.
We are moving on. The subject's been discussed. We are
Well,
not,
the mayor asked to part of the discussion of Mr. Snyder's.
we're moving on.
You don't have 30 seconds to give me.
So,
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Might I ask when?
what is your
It is-
direction here?
it
We
is-
don't allow the mayor to speak? Is that what we're doing?
That is not what I said, Mr. Sears.
Well,
But that's what you're doing.
Do not put words in
Because
my
the
mouth.
mayor,
That's what you're doing.
Words in your mouth. I'm trying to get an understanding.
It is
Because the mayor
our...
did ask to comment.
Yes, he did, and I said not at this time.
May I ask when?
I'm sure, you made some false accusations last meeting against me.
I did?
Yes.
What were they?
I'm not gonna get into a discussion about it.
Oh, so
we
you're
will-
just going to take it out on me without giving me a chance to defend myself?
You made comments.
Like what?
The $13 million comment got thrown at us again. The $13 million concept is totally misleading. The people on this dais we passed a $13 million bond for the firehouse and passed bans to remove them and get interest under 1%. That is the $13 million that myself, Mr. Ullman, Mr. Cassio, and Mr. Bruno spent. And you keep throwing that $13 million out there, that this council spent $13 million. We spent that $13 million for two things: the brand new firehouse for our firemen, and to pay off $7 million in bans, which was an interest-only payment that was made for years. And we financed that to a low-interest 30-year bond at under 1%. And you've thrown it out, you put it out in the newspaper, and it's totally misleading. We did spend $13 million, you're absolutely right, but $7 million of that $13 million was to pay off bans, which was a credit card paying no interest, just paying interest with no principal for all those years. So when we stop putting out statements like that and then go put our articles in the paper and mislead people, I will let you talk.
May I talk now?
No.
What a joke. You can't take it, Mike, can you?
I can take it, but I do not like to be disparate. You've made it. You've said the same statement about us spending $13 million. We did spend $13 million, but it was for two things. It was to build a new firehouse emergency services building for the firemen and the ambulance corps, and to pay off bans that were getting kicked down the road.
Someone's pausing.
Would anybody in the audience like to come up? Yes, Mr. Mayor.
This is getting to be an unfortunate habit that I have to come off the dais to speak. You know, have we really deteriorated into this?
No, we have not. But when the...
Well, you shut me up, so you leave me
When
no
the
alternative.
statements are made over and
Okay.
over, when you start giving
All right,
the people...
this is my 5 minutes,
Yes,
not
it
yours.
is. Go ahead.
I believe all the members of the council here voted for a new ladder truck for the fire department, did they not?
I believe you're correct.
Okay. Did the members also vote for a new engine for the fire company?
Yes.
Okay.
It was part of the bond
there's-
ordinance.
Yes, there's $2 million in spending on top of the 7 for the building.
But it was permanently bonded at under 1%.
No, that's a ban.
No, it was not a
You're not
ban.
going to get a bond at 1% these
We
days.
did get bonds. We bonded it with Mr. Beinfeld. That's why we got rid of the bans.
You're wrong.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Okay. We'll bring in
Okay.
Mr. Beinfeld and let him explain it to us. Because we were told we were going out for permanent financing for the $13 million
Right.
at under 1%.
No, you're wrong.
Okay. That's your...
Will I be able to speak during the conference agenda?
Yes.
Since I put items on there.
Yes,
Okay.
your name is on it.
Well, you didn't say that just now. You didn't say I
That's
could
not
speak
what
at
I
the
said.
conference agenda.
That's not what I said.
You said I couldn't speak now. I said, when can I? You said,
We're not in the conference agenda. You have asked for...
but I will be able to speak in the
Yes, you will,
conference.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. You see what your council's doing? This town is a laughing stock.
Would anybody in the audience like to come up and address the council, or anybody on Zoom like to address the council at this time? Anybody on Zoom?
I don't see anything.
Motion to close the public comment period.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Resolutions consent agenda. The following items have been determined to have unanimous consent of the council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. At this time, does anybody have any resolutions to be removed from the consent agenda for discussion?
147.
Excuse me, Mr. Kessler?
I'm sorry, 148?
148. I'd like to remove, that's the one I'd like to remove also.
Can you remove 145, 146, and 147?
Sure. Hey, Mr. Sears, anything, Mrs.
No,
Velez?
they're all self-explanatory.
Okay. Resolution number 24-144, authorize the mayor to execute BCOS grant agreement contract for the land acquisition of 450 Pascack Road, $550,000. Resolution number 24-149, authorize refund of boys basketball registration fee to the total amount of not to exceed $155. Resolution number 24-150, authorize refund of girls basketball registration fee to the total amount of not to exceed $165. Resolution number 24-151, authorize participation in the Sustainability New Jersey Municipal Certification Program. Resolution number 24-152, authorize shared services for BCUA Certified Recycling Professional. Resolution number 22-153, authorize renewal of interlocal agreement for street sweeping services by and between the Borough of Paramus and the Township. Resolution number 22-154, authorize renewal of shared service agreement for vehicle maintenance by and between the Borough of Paramus and the Township. Resolution number 24-155, authorize appointment of a municipal stormwater coordinator. Motion to approve the agenda items just read. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Omen?
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Resolution number 24-145, authorize enacting standard policy for implementing the claimant certification. I believe you had that removed, Mr. Ullman?
Yes, I just,
Oh, hold on, I got to take a do I have a motion?
Motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
yeah, I just, I don't understand exactly what we're looking to achieve by this. I mean, I could read it, but I don't know if you can explain what it's actually doing. Or, I don't know if it's you, Mr. Mayor, or Mr. DiCarlo?
It could be me.
Mr. DiCarlo, Mr. Mayor, could you explain to us?
No, I'm not going to sit here and let you tell me when I can and can't talk. So
Then no, Mr. Ullman, we cannot know.
I will allow the administrator to answer it
Thank you.
because I won't stoop to your level.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, what this is allowing, our QPA asked for our support with this procedure. Purchasing law requires the township or any township to pay an invoice within 30 days of receiving it. Oftentimes, we'll have trouble with a claimant's signature on a purchase order. So what the purchasing law allows us to do, in certain circumstances with expenses under $6,600 that aren't a reimbursement for employees' expenses, are not professional services, and are not a refund of municipal fees or payments, and any other payments deemed necessary to the chief financial officer. So barring those exclusions, anything under $6,600 allows our purchasing department to pay the invoice without the signature on the purchase order. Missing that 30-day window could be a blemish on our audit, could be something that was picked up on an audit. So
Do we eventually get that signature, Mr. DiCarlo?
we could or we couldn't. We generally see it with, how can I explain this without, it shouldn't sound demeaning or insulting, but you know, the expenses that are usually under the $6,600 might be a vendor that we don't use all the time, or a vendor that might not have very much personnel. So that way it gives us, you know, we have to have an invoice. Have to get the service, have to get the merchandise, has to be supported by an invoice. But if we're having trouble with the vendor sending us the signed purchase order, it allows us to make that 30-day deadline and pay it. We certainly will attempt to get it, but the law allows us to pay it
not.
without the sign of PO. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this? Roll call?
Councilman Casio?
Yes.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez? Yes. Council President DeSena?
Yes. Resolution number 24-146, authorize award of contract for administrative agent to Community Grants Planning and Housing LLC. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? I'll second it. Discussion?
I didn't pull it.
So I guess the same question. So this administrative agent handles our COA obligations?
Yes. Can I jump in a little bit, maybe?
Yes, Mr. Powell.
Yeah. Having an administrative agent is a requirement under the COA settlement. You must have one. And they're the agency that would be doing things like assisting in selling COA units, pricing COA units. They do a variety of services. If you read their contract, it's a variety of services, and that's the COA-related services. So we have to have that. We don't have any, particular.
Would they run the lottery, Mr. Powell?
Excuse me?
They would do like the lottery for the.
Yeah, whatever service is necessary. They also help in the reporting requirements when we report to the state. They're involved with that. And up till now, they're I think their total number is like about $1,800, $1,900 that they spent last year. So it's not a lot, but it's a requirement. We had to do it, and we have to maintain it. And we did a lot of research about getting the best company that was price competitive and also didn't have a lot of requirements of paying money irrespective of whether we were actually using, active services. So.
But that was my last question, Mr. Poller, is are there any fees that would be due to the firm if we have no COA activity that sort of they manage? Is there a retainer fee?
No, I don't think I think there's no retainer fee. But they do have some services that they do render, they do bill for, like the monitoring and reporting and stuff like that. But we stayed away from mandatory expenses if we weren't going to, incur a specific COA units.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion on the days? Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Resolution number 24-147, authorize award of contract for municipal advisor and continuing disclosure services, Phoenix Advisors LLC. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Not to sound like a broken record, but Phoenix Advisors, what advisory services are they providing?
I didn't ask for this resolution, but I'm imagining maybe Ms. Wachowski just duplicated what we did last year. My understanding of what Phoenix Advisors does is provides that advisement and works with Bob Beinfeld when we go out to borrow money, for whether it's a bond or a band.
And is there a retainer fee, or do we know the fee structure?
There is not a retainer, and I'm just looking to see if the contract is,
I didn't see it.
yeah. It's hard to explain it. Let me just, the contract's not there. There is a fee when they do the work, but there's no retainer that I'm aware of.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Just one. This is not, they don't, I know you just explained it, but they're not involved with the LoSAP.
No, that's Lincoln Financial.
Okay, all right. Sorry about that, thanks.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSena.
Yes. Resolution number 24-148, authorize award of contract for municipal architect Arcari Iovino Architects PC. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Sure. I asked for this to be discussed because, the last time we had come up with this architect as a contract and on staff, I don't know if it's really containing costs, to be quite honest with you. And that's when it first came up 4 years ago. I voted, I believe, no to hiring a architect by retainer. So I still feel that it's probably better when we have an award or we're looking to do something that we go out and get bids for architectural services for each project that we might have. It fosters a little bit of competition, so that's my reason for pulling this.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, if there was the understanding that there was a retainer, there is not. There is no retainer for Mr. Iovino or that architectural firm.
So what is this contract for specifically?
Again, just assuming that Ms. Wachowski duplicated what was last year, it would be awarding under a professional services contract the services of Mr. Iovino. And there is currently two projects that firm is working on, one being the DPW building and the other being the renovations to the library. And doing the study of the police department, which I kind of just incorporate into the DPW building.
So does this prohibit us from going out to get prices from other architects if we make him the town architect?
That's a legal question.
Mr. Pollak, thank you.
You're muted.
You're muted, Mr. Pollak.
All right, sorry. No, it's not exclusive. If there was a project that you decided to, get a different architect, I mean, there could be things that this architect doesn't even do. So you can go and find other architects or other services. It's not a full-time exclusive award. It would only be authorizing their use under their agreement.
I guess my question is the agreement, is that a blanket agreement for doing all architectural services for the township? Or you don't have it in front of you?
I don't have it in front of me, but
Right.
I don't have it in front of me, but I'm assuming it's hourly rate type quotations, of what they charge, for whose time doing what. Although, as I said, I don't have it in front of me.
I guess at this point, I'd just like to table this one for next meeting. So I'd like to see what the contract actually entails and, go over that. And then, if it looks good, I'd be happy to have these architects come back because they are doing some work for us. But again, I like to go out and bid for things to get the best possible price. So that's my recommendation. So I'm going to make a motion to table it until next meeting. Sure, go ahead. Yes, please.
I think the council president should run the meeting, not the vice president.
Thank you, Peter.
Anytime.
Yes,
What I
Mrs.
can
Velez.
speak.
This architect has done several presentations and renderings of the current DPW building. So by tabling, is this going to put us on hold for the DPW once again? These gentlemen have been out of a building for far too long. If we go out for bid, then we're just starting from scratch all over again, when we've already invested a lot of money
That was not,
into the current.
I didn't see that. I would like to see their contract with the town and what it actually states. I would not like to see it rebid at this time.
I'm not suggesting that for these projects that are already in motion.
Saying
For future projects, exactly. Yes, that's not, I'm not going to go back and I'm not starting fresh.
Okay.
We've gone through that for a number of months. They do deserve some type of structure, so that's not my intent at all. My intent is if we go out for other projects, whatever they may be, major, minor, I think it's wise to go out and bid for those things.
Understood.
Okay? Thank you.
Anybody else on the dais like any discussion?
So does this allow, so by appointing a municipal architect, it allows the town to, and specifically the administration, to approach them with requests, and there's no need to come before the council, but it doesn't preclude Iovine from doing work for the town, or am I misunderstanding that? Meaning if we don't approve this tonight,
He could still work for the town. Is that correct, Mr. Pollard?
No, we should have a contract to get to be approved. Well, I don't know what his price structure is in terms of him doing his work, but normally you would have a contract with the professional.
Yeah, but don't we have a contract for each project with the professional?
I don't think so. I don't recall that we have a specific in each individual contract for each project.
I can answer that if you
Yes,
want to hear me.
Yes.
Since he has been the town's municipal architect, he does not have an individual contract on each project. He falls under previous years when the council has approved him as the township architect.
So does he submit a proposal to the administration for each project with a not to exceed amount, or is it an open-ended budget? Like, how does it, I guess, like.
Yeah, like you, I don't have the contract in front of me, so I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Council President, can I ask Mr. Pollard a clarifying question?
Sure.
Mr. Pollard, I know, so right now, obviously the DPW building's still under discussion, but Mr. Iovino is like actively working on the renovations of the library. if this isn't passed tonight, can he continue working tomorrow and Wednesday and so on?
Well, it's almost at his risk. He doesn't really have a contract then to get paid, right?
Well, he had that risk yesterday because the contract expired on the 31st.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're into 2024, so he needs some authorization to do work if he wants to do work, and then there's a contract or resolution passed later on, fine. But if you said now, right now in 2024, he's not authorized to, do work.
So if I could ask the administration, was this not included last week or not, excuse me?
Last meeting.
Last meeting. Was it an oversight or was there a specific reason why it was held till tonight?
I honestly can't answer that. I would ask Ms. Witkowski if she could, if she's on it, she could provide that information. She's not. Okay.
Yeah, technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was not an oversight. She manages, as you know, manages things very well. So, there were some things that weren't on that night that are on tonight. And, without her, I wouldn't want to answer for her.
Okay.
There were definitely was not an oversight. There's a lot of things that start at the beginning of the year. Theoretically, you could have, 50 resolutions on reorganization day. So some resolutions are pushed off just by a matter because of volume of the work and the documents that have to come in, the pay for play, all of that stuff. So it definitely was not an oversight.
Perhaps oversight was the wrong word. Is it presented tonight rather than last meeting for a specific reason? And it sounds like there was no. Okay.
There's no reason.
Before you vote on tabling it, may I make one other comment?
Sure, Mr. Mayor.
If I'm recalling correctly, and maybe some others on the council will also, we appointed a municipal architect if we needed a very small architectural opinion for something where it wasn't ready to go out as a full-blown project just yet. And I say we, the mayor and council, because obviously the council approves all the major projects. So it was just to not have to lock architect into only certain projects that are being worked on. That way, if we needed a quick opinion on something, we had one who was outside the scope of projects and was a municipal architect to just get quick architectural questions answered. It was not meant to assign him another big project without having a discussion on it first.
But I guess what I just heard was we did hire him for the two projects, without a proposal with a not to exceed amount for the DPW and the police renovations. So we don't have what I'm saying is we don't have an individual contract that the council has approved, the previous council has approved for those two projects, because he's been doing under a blanket agreement that basically he is the municipal architect as for the resolution, right?
Yeah, I can't, like I said, without having the paperwork, I can't say yes or no to that, whether he has a separate agreement on these projects or not. And if you can, Mark, please.
Council President, last year the council approved a $25,000 capital budget account for Mr. Iavino, for the architect to review possible, restructuring or design.
So he did have a budget line, but he didn't actually submit a proposal.
I can't honestly
say. The mayor
say.
is executed and the township is executed.
Right. So I wouldn't want you to think that there was an actual piece of paper that said it's not to exceed. However, he was well aware that that's what was, approved by the council for that.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Casio?
No.
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Oman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Adjournment to conference agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, current business, administration. Mr. Mayor, you had asked for the DPW building as your first topic, and I guess you have 4 topics on here. You have the DPW building first. I guess we'll start with that.
Yes, and as I've said in past meetings, that one's going to stay on until we collectively make a decision on the DPW building. So with that being said, I don't know if the council is waiting on the administration for anything to help guide that decision for the council to authorize, spending on it and moving forward. So
Have we looked at the Borough of Moonakee's brand-new facility they built off of Route 17 across from the Fiesta?
not that I'm aware of. Moonaki.
Moonaki.
Yeah.
It's a Bergen County town, yes.
Yeah.
They just built a beautiful building right off of Route 17. It's right across from the Fiesta, if anybody knows. So I'm just curious if we had reached out to them and seen the pros and cons of the building they put up. It's a beautiful, it's a gorgeous building they put up. So.
Happy to do so. The only thing is, and maybe if you've seen it, will it fit in our footprint? Because we have a very relatively small footprint to fit in here.
It's a lot bigger than what we need, but it's just it's a.
So you just mean conceptually, maybe?
Conceptually, yeah. Just I think
We can certainly ask the architect if he knows about it, since that's what he does. But as far as any of the other options, like option 1, 2, or 3,
would we be able to get I know I didn't receive options. I saw him. I was at the meeting when he presented. But would we be able to get that in our? Could we get that emailed to us or sent to us, Mr. Mayor?
It's the link on the website is, I don't think, works.
Oh. Okay. Yes, of course.
Thank you.
And just as a point to start, option 3, I believe, is the preferred option. And that includes a second story with a courtroom and, I guess, non-DPW workspace.
Option 3, when both departments were here, they both preferred, both departments, police and fire.
Yes.
I'm sorry, police and DPW, was the option that they thought worked best for them individually and as a group. Sorry, I lost track of your question with that. I'm sorry.
It includes non-DPW, so I think
That's
a courtroom.
correct. Yes, because with option 3, it would be the architect's intent to give the police this room and put council chambers and court chambers on the second floor of the DPW building.
Okay, so my only comment to that is it would seem that putting the courts, the council, and having transient traffic through or adjacent to the building through the parking lot. So if there's a council meeting, if there's courts, if there's an event like this evening, a snow event where there would be a lot of activity, I think that is a concern, or that would be a concern of mine. The other is the fact that there is storage of chemicals and the like within the DPW, and that people who may not have an awareness or have the ability to not participate or visit the building don't have an option, possible exposure, as well as, why introduce that potential risk? So that would be, my only comment for option 3, without reviewing the whole thing, but that, and so I would just make that comment.
Okay, fine.
If I may?
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I remember when the ladies were here, that was discussed in regards to bad weather, inclement weather. It was suggested that we could make the call to go remote, for the entire meeting to go remote, instead of a hybrid option. So should there be a situation like that, we do have that option now with the
Well, we
Zoom.
wouldn't have it for court, would we, Dave?
For court date,
No, I'm saying just for council, we'd have that option,
correct.
but for court, you would not, because court would.
Well, court is still remote from COVID, and there's really,
Oh, court is still not in session?
correct.
Oh, I'm
and
sorry.
There's no anticipation of them going back at this time. And that's at the county level, I think that decision is right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So that there is that option to avoid that traffic concern.
And if I may just address Councilman Ullman's part about hazmat, I fully agree with what you're saying. However, let me say, the DPW employees being in there and having a potential exposure, we would always make sure that those hazmats are controlled to the utmost extent possible. But I see where you're coming from. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not looking to be argumentative.
No, it's, and again, I also think that they go in there with knowing the risk, meaning they know what's in there. I don't know if, again, a transient person would.
Sure.
And thank you, Ms. Velez.
Any other discussion on the DPW building at this time? Mr. Mayor, the 2024 road program? Or Mr. DiCarlo, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Council President. It's probably safe to say that everybody left in the room is concerned at how long it takes us to get started with the road program every year. So we're discussing and kind of, not even researching, it's pretty clear to figure it out, and talking with John Ukimic from Boswell Engineering that manages the capital expense of the road programs. It's really kind of because of two things. So no fault of anyone, but last year, as you can tell, by the time the budget and the capital ordinance is approved, it's like June. And as a matter of fact, I think it was June, you need the 2 readings. So we can't go out to bid on the road program.
Mr. DiCarlo, can you put your microphone on?
Yeah, sorry. We can't go out to bid on, any project, but specifically the road project, until the CFO can certify that we actually have the funds in hand. So, and then Mr. Ukimic also informed me that, every year we have a New Jersey DOT grant that we combine with the road programs. So he suggested very simply to just separate those bid process, because when a New Jersey DOT grant's involved, there's an incredible amount of, New Jersey state red tape, for lack of a better term, that prolongs it. So separating them and going out at separate times would help improve us for the actual road program, where there's, say, 5 or 6 streets, or 4 or 5, 6 streets, as opposed. So this year, we received a very nice grant for Calvin, as an example. So that, I make a suggestion to the council that would be twofold. Perhaps, suggesting to the council that perhaps considering approving just the capital expense for the road program sooner than later, rather than waiting till the end of the budget. And I know, again, you have to kind of try and look at the whole picture together, but if we were capable of deciding how much money we wanted to throw at the road program, I'm just throwing this out, say by March 15th, and we could get those ordinances passed sooner than later, we can get the process of going out to bid sooner than later. I think most of the road resurfacing companies probably don't try and pave in July and August. So then our next, safest bet is that when it gets into the fall. So as we can see, last year, or, for '23, we didn't even go out to bid until like the latter part of September. And then by the time the bid's gone out and it's awarded and it's approved by council, and then we get a pre-construction meeting going, and then, they always promise it's going to start yesterday. And then it doesn't, and that's when we get towards November, and then we're deciding, is it too cold to get it done, and it's not going to be done correctly. So, again, the
We
one
paid
thing.
December this year.
What's that? Yeah.
We paid December.
Right. So the one recommendation administration can take care of is as far as, separating the bids. That's
I
a
think that's
no-brainer.
a
But making sure we have the money approved by the council sooner than later would be an excellent way to get that started. So if it was something you guys consider, when we turn over the budget to you guys, you have the capital section in there anyway. With your guidance and the mayor's approval, we can certainly get you just the road program sooner, or, at the same time with the request that you guys look at the money you want to spend for the road program. So that would be my pitch to you. This year, again, it's not that it's awkward, but PSE&G is coming back to right all the uprooting they did on a lot of streets. So some of the streets, they have to pave because of the moratorium, like Hudson being one in Robinwood? Yeah. What's Robinwood? Still learning the street, sorry. And then some, they're only doing half because they only affected half the road. And then some they're doing whole because they did this half of the road, then they crossed over and did this half of the road. So we're going to have a lot going on, regardless of the 23 road program. So we're looking to kind of combine everything together. So that would be my pitch. If you
Can we ask Mr. Corcoran, Mr. Mayor, to give us, if we would have enough in the, the existing surplus? Because, I know the DOT, we were talking about this, you get the 75% of the money as soon as we start to, as soon as we go out to bid, we get the bids back, we get 75% of the money. So that money would be returned very quickly. The 25%, yes, Mr. Kimmick's always right, it's the hardest 25% to get, but you get the 75%. So at least you get a lot of the money right back. So if we could find out what, if there's a way to, while we're doing this, in order to expedite it, if we could, if the surplus could hold us until we got put back.
our capital surplus?
Yeah.
Okay.
If that, I don't know if that could
Yeah.
work or not, but just to see if we can, right, is the council okay with that?
Certainly find out.
All right, thank you. Anything else on the discussion for the 2024 road program? Now, is the road program being handled by Mr. Yukimic or Mr. Beckmeyer?
You want me to? Since it was a 23 program that, we didn't finish, it will probably stay with Boswell because they've already
But
done
the
it.
24 program will
Oh, the 24 program?
Yeah, well, this is the-
I'm sorry.
what's on here is the 24.
I'm sorry. I thought, since we didn't finish the 23, I thought you refer. Yeah, since that's new, that will be going to...
Mr. Beckmeyer.
Thank you. Yes.
Any other discussion on the next one, Mr. Mayor, budget and taxes?
Yes, thank you. Now that the administration and I, it's January, so we're working on our part of the budget, but based on the last meeting, it seems like perhaps the majority of the council have a plan that they want to try and get to. So I didn't know if any one of them would share the plan so we could maybe work in harmony since we're preparing the budget to not, just spin our wheels on things that don't align with what may happen during the council's part of the budget process.
Could we get some dates where we could all meet without having a quorum? I guess, Mr. Pollard, two of us can meet with the administration or
Yeah, two.
So, Mr. Mayor, if you can get us some dates and count,
I mean, might I ask, is there a problem with stating it in public, or you're just not ready to, or?
No, I'm just saying, I thought you just said you wanted to meet to hash out, or you want to do it in public. I thought you wanted to meet beforehand to hash out.
No, I mean during this meeting, is there anything that, can be said about your plan so we try and align?
I don't have the marked up budget in front of me from last year, but, we could sit down either at a meeting or at a different time, whatever you'd like.
Okay.
So,
I mean, I would like to hear what that is. It could be beneficial to our residents to hear what's coming so that we can all be aware.
Okay.
So here's my plan. We talked about doing a 10% budget decrease. Again, discretionary budget, 10%, pretty much across the board except for necessary items. I mean, there's some things you can't cut, like things from the fire department. You need Scott packs, you have to have them. It would be not prudent to have those. So if that costs, X amount of dollars, it costs X amount of dollars. But there's other places we can glean out of this budget 10%. There's no doubt in my mind. It's not a specific thing that we're going to only do 10 here. We're going to work together, and we're going to find somewhere to take this budget down 10%. And there's places we can do that. There's some places we can't do it. We're realistic about that. But we know we have to work together. We got to get it done. That's what the taxpayers want, okay? They feel overburdened, overtaxed, and we can do it. We're all smart people up here. If we put our heads together, we can come up with a budget that's reduced. There's no doubt in my mind we can do that. Never was. Things we need, things that we'd like to have, things that we can't have because they're just, too expensive. Get what we need, not what we want. That's how we work most of our households, and I think we can do it if we work together, and I think we can work together. Together is a word that we have to start using, and we have to do it, and we can do it. I'm confident. Everyone up here on this dais has a commitment to this town, and this is what the townspeople want. And that's my plan. I can't say specifically we're going to cut 10% from here and 10% from there. If we need to take 0 from one line, but we can whack 20% somewhere else that we don't really need, I'm okay with that. And that's my plan. But, you have to get into the specifics of it. You can't come up here and make a blanket statement that we're going to do away with the fire department, because we don't need them, right? 10%. There's stuff we need. There's stuff that are luxuries.
Mr. Sears, you had your hand up?
Yes, Council President. A question for Mr. DiCarlo. My last meeting with the tax assessor, she told us that we are probably one step away being forced to do a complete reevaluation by the county, and we should maybe start figuring out, I think she mentioned 260,000, 230,000 to start the evaluation. Will that be placed in the budget this year for us to start it?
It will, unfortunately.
Mr. DiCarlo, let me just, so Mr. Sears, Mr. DiCarlo, we had a request to have the tax assessor come tonight, and I asked Mr. DiCarlo to defer it to the next meeting. Myself and Mr. Ullman were not, we didn't have the information that you were given in the packet.
No problem.
So
That's fine.
I wanted to be able to have an informed discussion with her. Okay. So I asked him to defer it to the next meeting. She will be here, correct, Mr. DiCarlo, the next meeting?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. DiCarlo, Mr. Mayor said he would provide us the information that she provided the former council, so we could all make informed decisions with that information, because myself and Mr. Ullman didn't get that packet, so I don't have that information that you're talking about,
Okay.
of cost and all that, so.
But just to follow up, we are about one step away being forced by the county to do 100%.
Yeah, truthfully, it's probably less than one step
Yeah.
away. We are on the list to be mandated. It just hasn't happened yet.
So if
It's in our best interest, just to give you a little insight in the next meeting, it's definitely in the township's best interest to do it ourselves. Our tax assessor explained that if the county mandates it, it's the 1-year tax revaluation, which would have a significant higher cost than that yearly revolving. And they also mandate that you revise the tax maps, which is also significant. So us getting a jump start on it and doing it the recommended way that she's recommending could save us several $100,000s.
And nobody is against.
No,
We just didn't have that information for tonight. But Mr. DiCarlo did ask for her to come tonight, and I just asked her. I asked him if it was mandatory she had to come tonight, we were going to be in trouble or something.
that's
But he
fine,
said we could hold off.
because,
Right?
Yes.
By doing the reval, we also drop our school taxes also.
That's a huge
Yeah.
portion.
Is that a guarantee? I don't think that's a guarantee, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but listen, you don't know what the schools.
I don't think that's a guarantee.
But we won't pay as much as, Yeah, you're right, you never know.
You don't know. And, here's the thing. We talked about it numerous times when she was here, and people like to compare us to Westwood. We are not Westwood in some ways. We don't have the businesses that Westwood does.
Exactly.
So to say that it's definitely going to help with that aspect, I think is a false premise, because we were just, unfortunately, we were just not in a position to do it. So, but, listen, you don't know what the schools.
Agreed.
That is that a guarantee? I don't think that's a guarantee.
That is a guarantee.
I don't think that's a guarantee. You're the same in many ways and different in many ways. And
No,
that's one of the
but
ways
that can be
that we
that.
don't have that, that
I'm
revenue
just,
base.
I'm just going by what
Sure, I understand.
directing us.
So, I mean, so just so everybody knows, right, Mr. DeCarlo, she will be here the next meeting?
Yes, February 5th.
So we'll have a presentation at the February 5th meeting.
She'll be Zoom.
Via Zoom, yes, correct.
She's getting, yeah.
All right.
And Ms. Witkowski has all the documentation. She plans on sending it to you in the near future.
Yeah?
Any other discussion on tax reval or taxes, Mr. Mayor, anything else?
Mike, did you want to say something? It looked like before you wanted to jump in, so if you do before I continue.
No.
Okay. So again, I'm sorry that I'm confused. Our budget last year allocated was 15.8 million. Are you saying as 10%, you want to cut 1.58 million off of 24's appropriated budget?
I want to get started on reducing it, yes.
I-
I'd like to do
I
it,
think
I'd like
I-
to do it in one shot, but let's be realistic, It built up over time. It's going to take a while to build down over time. If I can get steady or I can get some type of reduction, I'd be happy with it, as long as we start going in the right direction.
So, I mean, I feel that we have employees that are covered by CBAs. We have debt service. We have required statutory payments such as the library. I mean,
School
we could
board.
go on and on, that what's required.
Right.
So there are certainly items that we can't cut even if we all wanted to. I don't know what that number exactly is of the 15.8. The residual of that is where I personally would like to start looking with an eye towards flattening or reducing.
I mean, I have a few quick things to recap. Out of that 15.8 million, 6 million is just in salaries, both CBA and non-CBA. Should we budget for those non-CBA people to be getting a raise this year?
You can budget for it.
Mayor, do you mind if I?
No, it's a discussion.
Councilman Allman, if you don't mind me just clarifying something you said, because it is the second time I've heard it, and I want to let everyone on the dais know that most likely 99 or 100% of our employees watch these meetings. If it's not live, they will watch it tomorrow or the next day. And I'm concerned what they're hearing is that the salaries of the employees that are protected by the collective bargaining agreement are safe. However, those that are not necessarily safe. Because I've heard twice now that you say discretionary, statutory, salaries that are protected by CNA. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd appreciate it, because it might relieve some anxiety that may have just been caused, or it might justify some that might be caused. I respectfully just ask you to clarify that. Thank you.
Certainly, Mr. DeCarlo. I would not be looking, I personally am not looking to cut salaries for any employee at this point in time.
Okay, and I mean, I'll take that one step further, and I hope that the council will entertain, reasonable increases, because I believe, at least from my knowledge, 3 of the council people are paid by tax dollars, if not directly, indirectly, and as far as I know, you will all be getting raises this year at your jobs, so I would hope that we treat our staff the same as far as, that goes. And I did highlight some of the statutory things, the major ones. Liability insurance, $225,000. Workers' comp, $219,000. Health, dental, life, and accident, just over $1 million. Fire hydrant service, $149,000. LoSAP, $95,000. Our recycling, paper and plastic fees, $145,000. Leaf disposal fees, $56,000. Library contribution last year, $697,000, and I believe it will cross $700,000 this year. Sanitary sewers, $900,000. Pension obligations, it's a few line items, so close to 1.3 million.
That's pension obligations, Mr. Mayor?
Correct. FICA and Medicare, $264,000. Debt service on the bonds principal, $995,000. Interest on debt service, $618,000. So those are just some of the highlights. The total, in my quick opinion, of statutory things comes to $9 million. So I just named a lot of them. But, we can't do with less postage. We can't cut back our telephones. There's a lot of things on here that will not stand a cut, in my opinion, other than those that I just mentioned. And so that leaves things in the budget that come to $822,000. So again, since at the last meeting it was referenced 10%, it would help us to operate as a team if we knew 10% of what.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what metrics anyone uses to determine that the taxes are too high in Washington Township. So might I ask WCTV, can you put up the tax rate comparison slide, please? Wrong one.
I can't see. I was saying I can't see that.
Thank you. So I recapped all the municipal tax rates in the Pascack Valley. We are number 6 out of 10, so we're right in the middle. So I don't understand how anyone can say that we are that high that we require a 10% cut. We're right in the middle if you almost divide it into thirds. So again, we're not lowest, we're not the highest.
Who prepared this, Mr. Mayor?
I'm sorry?
Who prepared this slide?
I did.
I just can't read it from here. That's what I'm just saying. What's that?
I mean, I can read it quick. Or...
No, just if you could send that to us.
Oh.
You could send that to us.
The TV clerk?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I mean, the tax rates go from 0.354% on the lowest to a maximum of 0.950 on the highest town. Ours is 0.656, which falls number 6.
Thank you.
Can you read what Westwood is?
Westwood is just underneath us. They are 0.671.
671.
But their denominator is a lot larger than ours, right? Because they have a lot more ratables. So I'd like to see what that denominator is for all those 10 towns. Because when you divide that by, they have $185 million more in ratables, the number is skewed. I don't know if everybody's understanding what I'm saying. The total ratables determine what that tax rate is. So, it's very...
Can you send that to us, Mr. Mayor?
I can send you the slide. Yeah.
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 Would the tax assessor be able to give us the total ratables of all 10 of those towns, Mr. Mayor?
I don't know. This is something that I worked on.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
It just, I didn't know if she could just figure out what the total ratables were for all 10 of those towns, what their total ratable pool is for all 10 towns.
Okay. And the one other thing I'd like to point out, and WCTV, if you can, bring up that other slide now. Thank you. This is spending that was authorized by the 3 newest council members while they were on council in the past 4 or 5 years. The top one is $19 million in capital spending since 2017, followed by almost $17 million by the next one and 9.3 million by the next. And so I want to keep this civil. Now you want a tax decrease, even though you collectively added to our tax burden by this. I don't recall when you voted for these things that you're saying that the operating budget would have to take a 10% hit. And so I think it's...
Could we get that slide also, Mr. Mayor?
Of course.
Thank you.
Yep. It has the ordinance numbers and the ordinance amounts that were voted on.
Thank you.
And so to vote for all these improvements and now say we have to do a 10% tax cut just doesn't ring well in my opinion.
May I ask a question, Council President?
Yes, Mrs. Willis.
If we budget too low, and should we need more money, I imagine it has to be pulled from a different account. How does that fare for us?
I asked the CFO almost that same question. I said, what happens if come September, October, we're running out of money in quite a few line items? And he said, the state will not look very kindly on that because they'll say, what was your basis to lower these so far? And, because you have to go to the state when that happens. Because they, as you know, once the budget is approved, we send it to them, and so they have a say in this also. And so 1 or 2 line items they're okay with. But if we start cutting a volume of line items and then we run out of money, that's going to cause issues at the state level also, was his answer to me.
Have we ever been in that position?
All I can say is not under my 6 years so far.
And I imagine that's going to affect our standing.
It could affect
now
our
we're
bond rating.
Right now,
AA plus.
we're double A?
Yeah,
correct?
double A plus.
Double A plus.
Yeah, it could affect our bond rating.
So we just we need
Anything
to
else on discussion on that? The difference card, Mr. Mayor? Or
Yes,
Mr.
Council
DeCarlo?
President, I can, this could be very quick.
Can you, I was...
I'm sorry.
If you could just, but
Yeah.
could you, I was here for the presentation of the difference card, and I've started to research this, and it kind of, has any other municipality given a difference card loaded with that amount of money? And how did that amount get determined?
So are you talking about, which number are you talking about?
The 16,000?
Well, it was 14,000.
I'm sorry.
Something. Now again, I don't like throwing numbers out that I'll be held to, but because I don't have the we ultimately we want to pass a resolution past you guys on February 5th. And 3 of the council members voted for the difference card, I think, back in November. The reason why it's coming back in front of the council is because the New Jersey State Health Benefits Plan required a language change. That's the best and simplest way I can explain it. So it's just coming back to the council for a formality. It'll have different wording, but I want to explain to the 3 returning council members why they're going to see it again, and for you new members to understand that as well. So that number is supplied by the health benefits. So it's not, I'm trying to explain this so it doesn't sound like we do that anyway. So whether there's a difference card introduced into the equation, we have to provide, the township has to provide, I think it's like 15,120 or something like that. Like I said, don't hold me to the numbers. That's the state health benefits, has nothing to do with the difference card. So you will see that number on the new resolution. And I can try and come up with a better way to explain it on the 5th if need be.
So we're leaving state health benefits plan?
No, absolutely not. So
we're staying
So
in
right
the
now, there's
Blue
30.
Cross Blue Shield horizon?
Yes. So we have 35 members that take advantage of having our health care.
Okay.
30 members are on Direct 10, 5 members are on Direct 15. Obviously, there's a premium associated with each plan, the 15 being a little less expensive than the 10, but not that much. What the difference card allows us to do is pay, so we're not going to leave the state health benefits plan of Blue Cross Blue Shield. What we're going to do is pay the premiums as if the members have, well, actually they are. They're going to enroll into Direct 20/35, which has less expensive premium. So therefore, right off the bat, the township's going to save money, and so is the employee because they're.
So we're eliminating 15 and 20.
Not eliminating it, not eliminating it. So just fine, it sound like it took me a couple times to understand this, and it's the simplest formula once it clicked. Right now, members are in Direct 10 or Direct 15. They're then all going to be enrolled into Direct 20/35. It's the same plan. Then we're going to introduce a difference card, which the township pays the fee for. Again, don't hold me to numbers. It's somewhere around low 50s, maybe $50, $51 per employee per month. Having the difference card restores every employee's benefits back to Direct 10 and Direct 15. So obviously, co-pays are different. Out-of-pocket deductibles are different. We're buying into a less expensive plan. So that's where the savings is. So even though we're going to introduce a fee to the township for the difference card, we're still anticipating to save, again, don't hold me to the numbers, around $160,000 by doing so. That's even after paying for the difference card. I can tell the question's coming.
But
It's
what is mandating us to make them whole? Like the mayor just talked about, there's 3 of us on the dais that are public employees. And January 1st, I got hit with a 12% medical increase on top of the 35% I already paid due to my salary.
Right.
So where is it that we need to provide this difference? Where is the language that says
we don't have
need
to provide the difference card? What the mayor and I were tasked with last year was to try and find an alternative to that incredible increase in the state health benefits plan. So 22 into 23, I think it was like a 27% hike. And that was anticipated, it was only anticipated to be half that, and that's what it turned out to be. Then in 24, everyone was saying, I'm sorry, in 23, they were saying, watch out, there's going to be another price increase. So again, they were telling us a number that we're all anticipating being double. So it wasn't quite as high. I think it may have only been like 7 or 8%. So that was the anticipation for 24, and that's what happened. So we, again, I don't have all the information in front of me, but I can tell you with certainty we exhausted every other alternative. Other plans, most of the plans would it's not denied a quote. What was it? I forget the term it was, but essentially they said, you have too good a health benefits, we're not going to even quote you. It wasn't declined to quote, something like that. I forget the terms, but that's what would happen. And then the collective bargaining agreements with the police and the DPW call for an equal to or better than, right? So if we were saying none of this happened with the difference card, we decided, we're going to go into another plan because it's $500,000 cheaper. We have to prove that that plan is better to or equal to what they are already have with the state health benefits plan. So through that process, we came down to the difference card, and that's where we spent most of our time, probably from early spring last year.
Correct.
It's taken us a long time because we really wanted to try and find something wrong with it to make sure that we're directing the township in the right direction. And this is where it came to. And we worked with our union members. We were very transparent with them. We brought them into our circle to try and find problems with it, to try and see how it was going to work. And now, believe it or not, the PBA has like a 2-page advertisement for a difference card in their monthly New Jersey Cops magazine. So, the biggest union probably in New Jersey is now supporting the use of difference cards. So like I said, it's anticipated savings right now based on their proposal.
So the premiums of that line item, you're saying if we introduce this difference card are going to be a savings of $160,000.
That's what it's anticipated. It could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less. based on the usage. But they give us those numbers based on the history of usage. I think they call it an experience report. So we've given them to all that information so they can make a proposal to us. They don't, they chose to do business with us because of that. If we didn't, have a very favorable report, they could decline even wanting to do business with us.
Now, what happens with the money on the difference card if we have very healthy employees and they don't use the difference card? Does that go back into the coffers of the town, or who gets that money?
That's a very good question. So I don't want to give I don't know how I can give the impression that the money's not there. Like, there's not $15,120 on this card that an employee can go and spend.
But is it an HSA card, or is it like a...
No, it's not an HSA.
No, FSA is what you're thinking. So
FSA,
it's not a flexible spending account, no. But what the state health benefits came along and said is that, it will take care of now, there's an increased benefit for the employee now. So that it will pay for the employee's co-pays. But it's not necessarily at a greater expense to the township. I'm having trouble explaining how that $15,120
So what I'm saying is,
falls into.
you go 2024, you go to the doctors once, so you have one copay. It's a very... There are people in the world that can get away with that, but there's people that go every month or every twice a month. So that healthy person, what happens to all his...
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's not there. It doesn't carry over. It's basically insurance. It's the same concept. So we still have to pay the premium. The employee will still have to pay the contribution.
Are we still using Title 78 contributions, or we have
Yes,
different
it's still
contributions?
based on, yes, it's the same contributions that is in their collective negotiation agreement, which is based on Chapter 78. But if you remember, it's a percentage, it's not a set amount.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, so if the premium's $100 and the employee has to pay 35% of it, or 30, or 25, or 20, based on their current salary level. But, it's a benefit to the employee because they're paying a contribution on a less expensive plan than the direct 10 or direct 15. Having the difference card, though, restores that employee's benefits to the equivalent of direct 10, direct 15. So an example would be you go to the doctor's office and you have direct 10, you're paying a $10 copay.
Correct.
You now have 20/35, you're going to the doctor's office and you're paying a $20 copay. You have the difference card, you're now paying a $0 copay as the employee. Excuse me, I'm taking a little sip.
I know you're trying to give an example.
Yeah.
But we went from an employee who had a $10 copay to now has no copay. So to me, it sounds like they're even getting more from...
Yeah, so that, it didn't start out that way in '23. So in '23, the example would be $10 copay, then it would be a $20 copay.
So it's $10 difference?
The difference card, you swipe the difference card, it now brings you, now that this
Makes you whole.
software,
Right, makes you whole.
recognizes it as $10 and the employee only has to do $10. The state health benefits plan now came along and said it can't be equal to or better than, it has to be better than. So now the employee does not have a copay. There's no out-of-pocket expense for the employee. This is dictated by the state health benefits
Medical or
plan.
prescription, or both?
Medical copay. And again, I don't have it in front of me. I can certainly send it out so you can see it in front of you. You'll see a bunch of numbers and the columns and how it explains it. It's an incredibly, once it just clicks, it's an incredibly easy concept to understand. So now the employee will not have a copay at all, but it's not, I don't know how I don't know how to make it sink in that it's not at a higher expense to the township. So it's still, the amount we paid the difference card is still the same amount. So really the only thing that to change is their estimate that the township's going to save $160,000, which is based off the historical usage from our employees. I don't even want to say an example of, God forbid, what could happen, but if another pandemic happens and, there's more usage, we might save a little bit less than that 160. If everybody's healthy and doesn't go to the doctor, then we're going to have a greater savings than the 160. But the proposal right now, based on the historical information, is a proposal of around 160. Again, don't.
So
hold
if
me.
you do have, you said there's 35 people on it. If we have 20 healthy people that don't use the 14 whatever, that money then comes back to us as a savings.
I don't know if I can give you that impression.
Well, what happened? Like that's where I'm losing it. What happens with that money? Somebody's got to expend that money, right? Because when you swipe that card, somebody's got to pay $20 or $30 or $35 if it's a $35 copay. Where does that money come from? Like, are we setting up an account for 35 times 14,000?
Yeah, I don't know. Not that I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to explain it so it makes sense to you.
Are we paying a premium to the difference card, or are we funding? Like,
We're not funding the card. We're paying the difference card. So again, it's like $50 or $51 per employee per month to have the difference card. Having the difference card gets the employee, restores the employee back to the benefit they were getting if they were paying for direct 10 or direct 15.
I don't want to.
That's okay. I'm just trying to do the best I can to answer the one question.
It's the second time you mentioned $50 per person per month. So when that's $600 for an employee. How do we reconcile $600 and $14,000? Because that's an investment I want to make.
Yeah. So I can't think of the words to explain the 15,120. But I can give it an example like this. And again, don't hold me to these numbers. I'm just throwing numbers out there. For our 35 members, if we didn't do this and we just continue paying direct 10, direct 15, it's $1 million, right? We get all 35 employees into direct 20, direct 35, it's now $700,000. But now we have to pay the difference card, right, to restore those benefits. And so that's a savings of $300,000, but now we pay for the difference card. Again, these are just numbers for an example. It's going to cost $150,000 to have the difference card. Now the expense is $850,000 compared to the $1 million it would be. There's a savings of $150,000. But again, I'm just using these numbers for example, but they're pretty close. The difference card's not going to cost that much. I mean, again, we could do it just roughly, 50 times 35 times 12.
And I think, Mark, we have some of the promotional materials that maybe
we
we
can
share with the
absolutely
council.
share, yeah.
But
Phil-
it's like Mark said, once you get to the end, it's easy. But to explain it properly to the employees at all levels, it took quite a few meetings.
We had a number of them.
Yeah, and so we've delved into this very deeply with the employees because we wanted them to understand where we were going, also that it wouldn't deprive them of any of their benefits, because obviously that was a concern of theirs, to say, hey, you want to make this switch to save the town money, but what does that do for us? And they even had their union reps come in to some of the meetings, right, Mark, to make sure that they were coming out whole in this. But why don't we send you the stuff?
Yeah, can you send us that? Because
So
maybe that'll help.
The 15,120 is the max out of pocket for a family plan. So that's the.
Now are all 35 of our members?
One family, no.
No.
They're not.
No.
So not everybody will have a 15,120.
No. Again, I hate to throw out information as if it's, it's guaranteed, but, even for an employee to reach that, there's got to be some significant, health concerns there. But the 15,120, that number represents the max out of pocket
For a family plan.
family plan. And again, that has nothing to do with the difference card. If you went to the state health benefits plan and we're just comparing the columns of direct 10, direct 20, direct $1 million, whatever it is, you're going to see that max out of pocket number is that 15,120. And it changed from the 14,640, I think it was just a couple months ago. But I will send it out. Anybody feel free to call me and we can go over it. But it really is an incredibly easy concept once it clicks.
Right.
And it was the best thing we could find so far to benefit everybody and certainly the
Wasn't that the
township.
only thing?
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
was.
Any other discussion on the difference card?
We heard so much. But I will say there is an informative tutorial, I think, was it?
Yeah, I mean, it's really like a 3-page slide, but
Yeah.
the first page explains exactly what you asked. What it would cost if we didn't do it, how much the cost of that 2035
If we can get
plan,
that, that'd be
how
great.
much is it costed to introduce the difference card, and then it gives you the estimated, savings. It was like 160 or 167.
All right.
It was helpful. So.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, if we can get that, because
Yeah,
Mr.
absolutely.
Ullman and myself have not seen it, so. Mr. Pollard, you had asked for council meeting times to be put on the agenda for ordinances and legislation under council?
No, we had talked about changing the time to 7, and remember at the reorganization meeting.
Yes.
So I did the ordinance and I sent it to Sue.
Okay,
So,
we're all good then?
Huh?
We're all good then to continue on at 7 o'clock.
Right, so that'll be on for introduction at the next meeting.
Thank you. Financial, non-miscellaneous, Mrs.
Velez, you
Velez.
had zoning board appointment procedure?
Yes, thank you. So after our meeting last 2 weeks ago, last week, to say I walked away disappointed is an understatement. I was thinking about how that meeting went with the zoning board and how 2 candidates were sprung on us last minute. And there's a lot of reasons why that bothered me, but mostly for the lack of transparency that we so try to strive for as elected officials. So I looked on our website, and it's still up there under the resource employment volunteers, and it was very clear that the Township Council of the Township of Washington is hereby soliciting resume and/or letters of interest to be appointed, yada, yada, yada. All interested parties are asked to submit documents by midnight, and those documents would be the resume or letters of interest. So instead of getting upset, I think we need to take this as a learning opportunity and to do better. So my recommendation is that we put together an application form so that we have a proper, clear, transparent procedure, so that all members of council are specifically aware of who the candidates are and what their qualifications are, right? In addition to a resume and a letter of interest. It's really important, I find it really important that we are all aware of who is out there representing our interests as council, because those members, while they are volunteers, and I admire volunteers on a grand scale, they are hearing applications for development. And we should have the knowledge of where these candidates stand as it relates to development in our town. Are they for it? Are they against it? Frankly, the 2 candidates that were sprung on us, I could not in good conscience vote in the affirmative, even if I wanted to, because I didn't know anything about them. And I don't think that that is fair to any member of council to have somebody sprung on you. So, and once again, I'll state like I did at the last meeting, one of the applicants who I spoke to, verbally, I said, you got to submit it. Let's, make sure you send in the documents as needed so that everybody on council is aware of your interest. And I don't feel that that courtesy was offered to Councilman Sears and myself that evening. But again, we need to learn and to do better. So it is my recommendation that we put an ordinance together, and with Mr. Pollard's help, an application form. That way we can be all on the same page and aware of who is interested and why, right? Because as much as I love volunteers, and I've worked with volunteers for a greater portion of my life, people have agendas. So we need to know who is representing our town and what their plans are for the development or non-development of this community. So if we can, that would be my recommendation. We ask application forms for a lot of other departments. This should
If we
not,
could just make one up for that department, for that position, that's fine.
I think,
But
and
just
that'll
to-
be transparent for all of us.
So just to go back on your points, for the last 3 meetings of the year, I had asked the existing members whose appointments were up as the chairman of the zoning board, if they had any interest of coming back. And most of them said they were too busy and did not get back to me at any of those meetings. So for the last 3 meetings of the year, every member that was up for renewal, term was expiring, was asked by myself and the board secretary if they wanted to submit a letter of interest or, to get reappointed. One of them did do that on New Year's Eve, unfortunately. I would have no objection putting that person back, but we did not receive it until the day of the council meeting. And on New Year's Eve, when I looked at our packet and we had one, I knew we had one, and we had the same gentleman that contacted you and myself, who I know very well, asked to be, and he did submit, but it was on New Year's Eve also. I asked a former member who was on the board before and represented us well as one of my, to say, hey, are you interested in coming back? Because we need a full zoning board because we have a lot of applications coming up. That's what I did. On my own. And yes, you did not have the opportunity to review that person, but the person I did put up was a former member of the zoning board.
So I understand
But
that.
I think your idea of putting together an application form, that this way it gets done electronically and it just goes out. It's not a letter of interest. It's just to check the box and what your experience, like a little wadir
Yes.
about everybody.
And why do you want to be on the board,
Yes.
right? We do that for our volunteers,
I think that's a great idea.
So if Mr. Poller, if you would be so gracious to assist me.
Sure. I don't think it should be an ordinance, but I think it could be an application, some documentation.
Like a volunteer application.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I would just like to add that, I served on the zoning board prior to being on the council. And when my term expired, the council at the time decided to go in a different direction. They certainly had that within their wherewithal. But it didn't seem to be a very public type of discussion. It was, we have new people, and they were in. When I became a council person and the president, I actually solicited interest, and we interviewed them as a council here in chamber as part of a meeting. I felt that was the most transparent. Yes. However, once I left the council, that also was done away with, and we moved to not so much a non-transparent, but sort of give me a name, yes. And so, there were attempts to make it transparent. And, I think for whatever reason, maybe people don't want it transparent. So,
Well, that behavior, with all due respect, but a text message lacks a lot of transparency. So, and I understand that there was a timeline issue. So let's just, let's move forward. Let's learn from this.
But I think part of the
let's do it
application
correctly.
process should be to, my first realm at the zoning board years ago, Mayor Sopkowitz appointed me, and she had me come up, and I think Mr. Ullman was also appointed by Mayor Sopkowitz. We had to come up and actually, tell the dais why we wanted to be on the zoning board.
Yes.
And I think that should be part of the application process, is that we invite our nominees here for that first meeting and have them present to us, and then we make an informed discussion.
And perhaps we start that sooner instead of right at the end of December.
No, I think that should be part of the application process, that you're expected to come here and give a little idea about yourself of why you wanted to be on the zoning board, and then we approve them or deny them at that point.
Okay.
Right? You agree with that? I think that's a...
Yeah, I just know there's a lot of room for improvement on this.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that whoever is on the zoning board is interpreting the land use and is in the direction
Absolutely.
of the lack of development or development in town. We're approaching 2025 with a lot of changes coming, so let's make sure we have the right people on there.
Any other discussion? Motion to adjourn. I'm sorry, Mr. Pollard, do you have something?
Yeah.
You're not on the agenda.
I'm sorry. What's it?
Not a subject, but I did want to say, Sue just sent me, the ordinance that I sent to her was in your packet. So it's not a big change, it's just basically changing the time. So if you want to take a look at that, not for tonight, but for the next meeting when it'll be introduced, it was already in your packet this week.
Right,
So-
it's right behind the.
It's unnumbered, but it's there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Powell. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.